Welcome! If you've clicked on this video, I assume you've probably heard of a little thing known as the Backrooms and are interested in seeing what the expanded lore has to offer. Perhaps you saw it from a YouTuber you watched, or you saw the movie being teased at the time this video is being made, and after seeing it, you want to know what it is and what its lore is. This video is a guide filled with all the information you will, as a newcomer, need to know both about the Backrooms concept, as well as the Backrooms wikis in their own expanded fictional worlds. This video will be spread into various sections and subsections, with the main ones being as follows. Basic information. An introduction to the Backrooms as a concept, as well as the Backrooms wiki iterations of it, Fandom, Wikidot, etc., and what things like an iteration is, and other basic stuff like that. Covering the formats of the different article types, level classifications, terms and general information on each of the different wikis. It also serves as a section to help people distinguish different iterations from each other and realize that they aren't the same. Background info and elements. Background information and lore, both on-site terms and in-universe terms, as well as things like esoteric categories and other concepts within the wikis. This part of the guide will probably be split into one for Fandom and one for Wikidot because of how different the two are. Site meta and introduction to articles. Basically, this part is where I start talking and showing the viewer examples of articles you can find on site and why they are good and are worth reading. It also serves as a frequently asked questions section for newcomers as well. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum humbuzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. The Backrooms are a creepypasta originating from 2019, originally as a 4chan post about an alternate dimension outside the boundaries of baseline reality, which people can accidentally find themselves in through no-clipping out of it. It is widely believed to have been created by the author Black August, although this cannot be truly confirmed. Eventually, following its popularity, it almost instantly started getting interpretations made of it, eventually spawning a genre of both horror media and collaborative fiction surrounding it. The Backrooms' most famous iterations prior to the Became Pixels era were the Backrooms wikis, specifically the Fandom Wiki and the Wikidot. Both of these wikis are collaborative writing projects dedicated to their own versions of the Backrooms with their own world building and canons that exist on them. On the Backrooms wikis, authors write and tell stories inside this mixed genre collaborative fiction universe, creating pieces of literature and world building taking place within the Backrooms dimension, and its massive assortment of subdimensions known in universe as levels, and how life and people in them interact and live. The different wikis have their own versions of the same concepts but in different execution, as well as having different forms of quality standards, making them distinct from each other. I'll start off with describing the Backrooms Wikidot and the Backrooms Fandom wikis with what the platforms they are hosted on are, and then I'll describe what makes them different from one another despite coming from the same concept. Fandom and Wikidot both are wiki hosting sites, and the Backrooms Wikidot and Fandom iterations are named after them in order to separate themselves from each other and prevent mix-ups or confusions regarding the expanded lore. On both sites, the central focuses are the article entries, such as levels, entities, objects, and the like. The most popular of these article types are levels, subdimensions, as stated earlier, within the Backrooms that are written like a travelogue or guide to locations within the Backrooms and the things that happen within them. Some levels are infinite, others are finite. The Backrooms Fandom Wiki is a wiki that, like the other interpretations, is focused on the Backrooms, but focuses it on world-building groups and humanity. On the other hand, we have the Backrooms Wikidot, a wiki that is focused on self-contained narratives, individual stories, and more general literary stuff, unlike the focus on group world-building that the Backrooms Fandom Wiki has. The Wikidot is also more open to authors experimenting with their articles. Levels are each given numbers and are split by clusters, though Fandom and Wikidot have yet to get to the second cluster. They have numerous different ways that they can appear, with each having various and unique themes to them. Some are infinite office spaces, some are grasslands, and some are even space stations. Whilst levels do have a format that most of them adhere to, levels are not restricted to this format, as some come in other, sometimes more story-like ways, referred to as format screws, where the level is described by a story or by a narrative taking place in the point of perspective of one or more characters. Levels are essentially the most fundamental piece of the Backrooms in every iteration, with all stories taking place within them. Despite how different all the Backrooms wikis are, there are a few terms that are present all throughout them. This small section is for quickly explaining these words before moving on to the terminology exclusive to specific iterations. Survival difficulty / threat indexes. If you click on a Backrooms level on any of the wikis, the first thing you'll be greeted with before the actual level itself is the survival difficulties or the threat index. Levels on both the Backrooms Wikidot and Fandom are given survival difficulties or threat index classifications. These terms both serve the same purpose, and they are determined by 3 factors in each level, starting with its safety as both a general location and a place to travel in. If it's a place that is not hostile and travel is made easy for humans, then it'd be seen as safe. However, this does not mean it's entirely safe, just that it's easier to survive in than other locations. If it's a generally hostile environment towards humans and life, or is difficult to travel through, then it would be deemed as unsafe. There are various forms of safe and unsafe survival difficulties in the Wikidot and Fandom iterations of the Backrooms. Here are examples of the most used ones, along with 4 examples of articles on both Wikidot and Fandom that share these classes. Threat Index / Survival Difficulty Class Habitable refers to levels where humanity and sapient life can thrive in and even form communities within and travel through. It is extremely easy. Notable examples of class habitable levels on Wikidot's iteration include Level 369, Comely / The Garden Rooms, Level 381, Comfy Cellar, Level 770 / Paradise 770, Mount Sela, Level 903, The Metro. Notable class habitable levels on Fandom's iteration include Level 4, The Abandoned Office, Level 79, Strums of Suburbia, Level 330, Lukewarm Hotel, Level 339, Itas D. Betelius. Threat Index / Survival Difficulty 0, used to refer to levels that are usually safe for humans or sapient life to live in, are generally devoid of entities, or at the very least are devoid of hostile entities and are easy to traverse through. Some examples of Class 0 levels on Wikidot's iteration include Level 11.2 / Scene 01.2, The Refuge, Level 15, Futuristic Halls, Level 134, Tales of the Sea, Level 371, Despondency / The Balcony Rooms. Some examples of Class 0 levels on Fandom's iteration include Level 21, Numbered Doors, Level 150, Flowers Bloom, Forget Worries, Level 220, Extravaganza, Level 280, Blue Serenity. Threat Index / Survival Difficulty 1, used to refer to levels that are safe for humans or sapient life to live in, can be traversed easily but contained a minimal amount of entities. Some levels here may contain minor hazards. Some example of Class 1 levels on Wikidot's iteration include Level 0, Threshold, Level 10, Bumper Crop, Level 191, RunAndGun.exe, Level 214. Some examples of Class 1 levels on Fandom's iteration include Level 13, Vitra Madness, Level 37, Sublimity / The Pool Rooms, Level 107, Snow Solace, Level 188, The Windows. Threat Index / Survival Difficulty 2, used to refer to levels that are safe for humans or sapient life to live in, can be traversed easily but contain a small population of entities. Some examples of Class 2 levels on Wikidot's iteration include Level 5, Terror Hotel, Level 327, Joint Operation. Level 422, To Be at Sea. Level 595, The Damned Dam. Some examples of Class 2 levels on Fandom's iteration include Level 16, Jayberry Mental Asylum. Level 154/Station 154, Neon Station. Level 168, Too Many Floors. Level 677, Expanse of Electricity. Threat Index/Survival Difficulty 3, used to refer to levels that aren't safe for humans or sapient life to live in, are difficult to travel through, and contain a small-sized population of entities. Some examples of Class 3 levels on Wikidot's iteration include Level 0.2, Remodeled Mess. Level 365, Your Worst Enemy. Level 368, Superfluity/The Furnace Rooms. Level 505, A Machine That Hates. Some examples of Class 3 levels on Fandom's iteration include Level 39, Megalophobia. Level 119, A is for Aquafina. Level 165, Chrome Bliss. Level 247, Song of the Flowers. Threat Index/Survival Difficulty 4, used to refer to levels that aren't safe for humans or sapient life to live in, are difficult to travel through, and contain a medium-sized population of entities. Some examples of Class 4 levels on the Wikidot's iteration include Level 20, Boreas Structure. Level 49, The River of Phlegethon. Level 70, Freud Town. Level 218, Dead Man's Mile. Some examples of Class 4 levels on Fandom's iteration include Level 9, Darkened Suburbs. Level 30, Aquatic Cycles. Level 400, Interstellar Frontiers and Retrofuturism. Level 188.8, The Flooded Windows. Threat Index/Survival Difficulty 5, used to refer to levels that aren't safe for humans or sapient life to live in, are difficult to travel through, and contain a large-sized population of entities. Some examples of Class 5 levels on Wikidot's iteration include Level 11.3, The Red Light District. Level 14, Paradise. Level 737, Dune Eternal. Level 881, The Courtyard of Windows. Some examples of Class 5 levels on Fandom's iteration include Level Exclamation Mark. Level 5, Terror Hotel. Level 64, Ecological Miasma or Underground Pollution. Level 84, Homogeneous Skyline. Now, with regular classifications out of the way, there are going to be a few custom/unique SD and threat index classifications. Some of them are modified versions of the former ones with symbols added to them, such as the PSI symbol, which resembles level types with a psychological factor added to them. Others, however, are customized entirely so they can serve a different purpose that the original classifications could not do themselves. For instance, Class Dead Zone is one such custom class that was designed for levels that are ultimately impossible for any life to survive in, regardless of what they do or have. Terminology present in most Backrooms iterations. Despite how different all the Backrooms wikis are, there are a few terms that are present all throughout them. This small subsection is for quickly explaining these words before moving on to the terminology exclusive to specific versions, which that subsection will be significantly longer. Sublevels. A form of level that is directly connected to another or shares similarities to a degree where it cannot be classified as its own regular level. Usually these levels can only be exclusively entered through their parent levels, though rarely there are exceptions. The Wikidot sublevels also serve the purpose of being the general classification for in-level locations like specific rooms and etc. No-clipping. If you've interacted with any piece of Backrooms media, then you've likely seen this term. No-clipping, used a lot throughout the different iterations. What exactly is no-clipping? Well, basically no-clipping refers to the event in which one enters a Backrooms level by disappearing into a solid substance, like walls for instance, causing them to appear within another location in the Backrooms. No clipping is a term normally used in video game speedrunning to refer to clipping outside the boundaries of the game. The front rooms. Essentially, this is just a backrooms term for the universe, or Earth in a lot of cases. A lot of the time in the Backrooms universe, you'll hear this term used instead of Earth in articles and stories. Entities. Now we get onto the entities, the inhabitants of the Backrooms, and one of the most interesting parts of the Backrooms iterations. What is an entity? Well, entity in the Backrooms universe is essentially an umbrella term referring to basically any animal in the Backrooms, and yes, that includes humans too. Entities are not necessarily dangerous, as there are some that do not pose dangers to humanity or do not care enough to do so. However, a lot of entities that make up each iteration's version of the entity list do pose a massive risk to humans. Groups. Within each Backrooms iteration are factions or groups of some type that make up the interactions and world building within the Backrooms Wiki lore. The most famous group present in most iterations would be the Major Explorer group. Groups usually have their own world building and in some cases formats that go along with them. Phenomena. In the Backrooms universe, each wiki comes with its own unique traits or events that occur within them called phenomena. Sometimes they happen on a schedule, and other times they occur completely at random. A phenomenon can vary from an event, an occurrence, etc. Each of the wikis has its own lists and special phenomena existing purely in their own versions of the Backrooms canon. Persons of interest. Persons of interest in the Backrooms wikis are usually just a general term used to refer to entries/character profiles of individual people or entities that differ from ordinary beings, usually in a world building and lore context, though sometimes in a supernatural context as well. Backrooms Fandom Wiki terminology. Now with the general terminology out of the way, it's time to get into the words present only within their respective iterations. I'll begin with the Backrooms Fandom Wiki's terminology first, as they have the largest assortment of different concepts, terms, and other things. For fandom, I will split the terms by 3 different categories, with those being means and methods of classification, esoterics, and group terminology. Means and methods of classification. Esoteric category. In the Backrooms Fandom Wiki, there are actually more categories and entry types than the 6 that Wikidot uses. However, these are less used, but at the same time cannot be fit into the existing main 6 article types, and therefore are put under their own small esoteric categories. Casper Bray numbering system. A system present in the Backrooms Fandom Wiki lore, acting as an in-universe reason as to why levels are given the numbers they are given. It is described by its own article as a colloquial term to describe the occurrence of a number being assigned to a given level as an ever-present motive, typically paired with various anomalous phenomena surrounding the level and its assigned number. Hudson Threat Classification System. A system present in the Backrooms Fandom Wiki lore acting as an in-universe method similar to the Casper Bray numbering system. It is for measuring a level's safety, stability, and security. Major Navigation System. A complicated tool created by the Major Explorer Group, or MEG, in order to consistently navigate through the expanses of the Backrooms. Sometimes the Major Navigation System is shortened as Major Nav when used by the MEG. The Wake, or Curiente. An alternative name for the Backrooms prior to the invention of the Backrooms as a term in 2019. Prior to 2019's creation of the Backrooms term, the Wake was the name Backrooms residents used to refer to the dimension. Another alternative name for the Backrooms is Curiente, which is a name primarily used in the Our Home Curiente's canon storyline. Sapient Entity. Entities, beings, and animals in the Backrooms universe with human-level intelligence and are capable of creating societies and factions when provided materials and resources needed. These kinds of entities are usually used by authors and writers for world-building or individual entities in the Backrooms wikis. Backborn/Wakeborn. In-universe terms used for individuals, usually humans, that were born in the Backrooms rather than on Earth. Essentially, it just means those in the Backrooms who were native to it rather than having been like everyone else who usually no-clipped to it from Earth and wound up trapped in it. Paraphysics. A concept that refers to the scientific study of the paranormal traits of the Backrooms and general ideas that contradict the usual laws of physics. Paraphysics is usually featured in science fiction articles on the Backrooms Fandom Wiki and appears to specifically be used on the Fandom Wiki iteration. Tulpa. Entities and beings created or altered via Phenomenon 9, tulpification, and the Akashic field through people's intense beliefs and thoughts in a concept or idea. Tulpae range from objects to beings and even entire levels in rare cases. Akashic field. A concept that has been adapted to the Backrooms universe and used to refer to the metaphysical collection of all thoughts, beliefs, and emotions experienced by sapient beings in the Backrooms universe. Because of the Backrooms' nature, the Akashic field can be used by humans to unintentionally, or intentionally in some cases, manifest tulpae based on their beliefs or thoughts. Phuno-endemic religion. Phuno-endemic religion is the term used for religions created inside the Backrooms in universe and are native to it, existing purely as their own things rather than being formed around an existing concept or religion from Earth. Phuno-specific religion. Phuno-specific religion is the term used for religions created inside the Backrooms in universe, based on existing ideas or religions from our universe. Esoterics. Terminals. An esoteric category to refer to entrances to the Backrooms that go to specific levels. Essentially, these are anything that appear in regular reality and serve as a one-way entrance hub to the Backrooms from Earth. They come in various forms, some being rooms, some being events, and some even being objects that bring you directly to the Backrooms. The Void. A dimension in between the Backrooms made up of a pitch black space of pure nothingness. This dimension is usually accessed on complete accident through failed no-clipping. Void objects. An esoteric category for things originating from the void or being present within it. Theories. Theories are an esoteric category created for in-universe attempts to try to further understand the Backrooms expanse and its broken and mysterious logic and nature. Conflicts. An esoteric category for stories and events that revolve around the world building of wars between factions, nations, entities, and etc. They come in the form of any article, really, whether it is tales or regular articles. Group terminology. Megi. An in-universe insult for the major explorer group, personnel, and allies. Usually this term is treated as a joke rather than a serious term. However, it is used in regular fandom canon, so it is featured here. Impresario. An elite group of 26 people from A to Z who hold almost complete power over the major explorer group and are second only to the first. They are the most powerful individuals in the Meg and were established ever since the beginning of the Meg. The First. The head of the major explorer group and the figure with the most power of the Meg. SFV. Short for Sanguine Festivus Virus, or Entity 67. Backnet. An alternate version of the internet that is disconnected from the front room's internet and is available only in the Backrooms levels that mimic human places and cannot contact anyone from Earth. Backnet contains a massive list of websites. Backchat. The most popular social media platform in the Backrooms universe, taking the place of sites like Discord and 4chan. Commonly, it is mentioned and used in the Backrooms Fandom Wiki universe for world building or narratives. Backrooms Wikidot terminology. Now, with the Backrooms Fandom's terms out of the way, I want to get on to the Backrooms Wikidot's terminology. There's less terminology on site at the moment, so this section will not be as long as the previous. I will be doing the same thing as I had for the fandom section, where I will separate the terms, though only in two categories, those being world-building concepts and group terminology. Concepts. Series. An on-site term for a series of pages that make up one continuous story or anthology, but without doing so in a way that'd be forming their own canon. Essentially, these differentiate canon storylines from regular storylines. Usually they consist of tales, however they do not require to be tales in order to be part of a series. Main 12. A term used on the Backrooms Wikidot to refer to the first 12 main levels, level 0 through level 12, on the database. Unlike most iterations with their main 10 levels, Wikidot considers the first 12 to be its main levels rather than its first 10. Dark Highway. The most common route taken by wanderers to reach level 11 from the first 5 levels of the Backrooms. Unnumbered and enigmatic levels. Unnumbered levels on the Backrooms Wikidot, formerly known as enigmatics, are just a general term given to levels that, for some reason, known or unknown in the universe, aren't given a proper level number designation and are instead referred to as unnumbered levels. Phantom noises. A recurring phenomenon in the Backrooms Wikidot universe, which serves as an explanation as to the noises in levels that come from seemingly nowhere. Usually not mentioned when it's used directly, however it is commonly seen in the Backrooms Wikidot lore. Liminal echo. A recurring phenomenon in the Backrooms Wikidot universe, which is used as a theory as to why the Backrooms mirror a lot of places and things from Earth, commonly in ways which are dangerous to humanity. Autocorrect. An opposite to liminal echo. Autocorrect is a phenomenon that is rare and affects targeted individuals in a way designed to save them from a situation rather than put them in danger. BackOS. BackOS is to the Wikidot essentially what BackNet is to the fandom. It's basically the Backrooms internet and main operating system in Wikidot's version of the Backrooms. Notable sites in it include BackNet Explorer, Backcode Studio, Backfiles Explorer, and various others. Voidstone. An object in the Backrooms Wikidot's iteration of the Backrooms that essentially acts as a solid substance designed to be a boundary for interior levels. Voidstone apparently can be harnessed for infinite energy, but unfortunately due to its indestructible material, it cannot be moved. Level evolution. A recurring phenomenon that, although not having a page on site as of making this video, is mentioned continuously as an explanation for the Backrooms Wikidot's variant of the Backrooms being so focused on aesthetics existing in the 1900s to 2000s time period. Slow clock. A term that, similarly to level evolution, refers to a phenomenon in Wikidot lore that does not have its own article yet, despite its occasional usage in the Backrooms Wikidot. It refers to the effects that the Backrooms has on aging human beings and general organisms, with aging being randomized, with some people aging slower or faster than normal. In rare cases, slow clock affects people to such a degree that it seems that they are practically immortal. The Blue Channel. A very famous Backrooms level and location that exists outside the Voidstone boundaries of most, if not all, Backrooms levels in the Wikidot iteration. Over 99.9% of it is composed of a disorienting blue void of dead space, though despite that, wanderers can float and swim within it as if it's made from water. Level velocity. A phenomenon relating to the Blue Channel, more specifically to how it affects the continuous movement in all levels in the Backrooms. It also relates to its physical fluctuations that it can cause on many levels. Level velocity varies, with it being minor all the way up to completely causing levels to collide and fuse with one another, forming instabilities within them both that are extremely dangerous for life within them. Blue consumption. A phenomenon/process connected to the Blue Channel. It is the process of a level's destruction split into 3 different stages. They are as follows: the disintegration, the rearrangement, and the construction. The disintegration is the beginning of the decay of a level, causing it to self-destruct at its edges. The rearrangement is the state of matter after the level has collapsed post-disintegration, and finally the construction, which is an event where matter begins to interact with one another to form an entirely new level in place of the previous one. The grave. The destination of the dead, the lowest level, and the final resting spot of all beings post-mortem. The grave is an unnumbered level in the Backrooms Wikidot, which basically serves as one of the possible afterlives, though not all Wikidot canons recognize it as such. It is not too dissimilar to our world. The majority of the space is an identifiable landscape, partially looking like that of hills, mountains, and rivers, yet it is still surrounded with great mystery. The middle sorts. The middle sorts is probably one of the most interesting examples of an unnumbered level, due to its potential and being the thing connecting the Wikidot and all other Backrooms wikis and canons, which include Fandom also. The middle sorts is basically the midpoint of the entirety of the Backrooms, not just the Backrooms Wikidot's Backrooms, but literally every iteration of the Backrooms. Any level from any iteration can be entered through here, if the references to them are anything to go off of. It is filled with corpus cores, an entity that originates from an unknown place, presumably somewhere inside the Backrooms, and acts as the main inhabitant alongside a few members of factions from other Backrooms. Despite how Middle Sorts is technically relevant to most Backrooms iterations, it still originates from Wikidot conceptually, and therefore I've chosen to mention it in their terminology rather than as its own section. Group terminology. Taxman. Slang used to refer to those who are members of the Backrooms non-aligned trading group. Trader's Keep. A location in Wikidot's universe affiliated with the Backrooms non-aligned trade group, located in Level 1, the Habitable Zone. It is the biggest center of trade in the Backrooms Wikidot universe, aside from habitable levels like Level 11. Asset. A term used by the Backrooms non-aligned trading group to catalog levels, items, etc. of interest to them. Dev Rooms. A term created by the Leaders, a group that essentially was the Meg before its founding to refer to the Backrooms. It's unknown how long the term was in use, but eventually it'd be replaced by the Backrooms term. Scene. A word created by the Leaders, used by people in the Backrooms during the 1970s to 2000s. It was the name that Wanderers would refer to levels as instead, back before the Meg's founding in the Backrooms dimension. Archway OS. A software operating system used by the Leaders faction in the 1970s to 1990s era during their time as the dominant Backrooms faction. Ground. An alternate name for levels in the Backrooms Wikidot universe. This term is used exclusively by the group, the Eyes of Argos, and is not used anywhere else. Instrument. Another alternate term. This time it's for objects. This term is used exclusively by the group, the Eyes of Argos, and is not used anywhere else. Ray. Ray, or Registered Anomalous Entity, is the term used by the BBAR/Backrooms Bureau of Administration and Research to refer to entities. It also has an alternate version of itself where Ray stands for Registered Asset Entity, which is used by the NEEF division of the BBAR. Rye. Rye, or Registered Anomalous Item, is the term used by the BBAR/Backrooms Bureau of Administration and Research to refer to items. Zone. A term used by the Backrooms Bureau of Administration and Research in place of the level term. Level 216, or the Interdimensional Museum of Backrooms History. Level 216, also known as the Interdimensional Museum of Backrooms History, is, as its name describes it to be, a level that was remodeled into a museum dedicated to preserving and telling the history of the Backrooms, its civilizations, species, phenomena, and various other things. The People's Red Repository. The precursor of the Eternal Repository. They were formed sometime in 1973. The group carried and believed in communist ideas which made them controversial during their time before they presumably vanished. It is believed after decades of being hidden that they secretly rebranded into and became the Eternal Repository. What is a tale? A tale is essentially a term used for stories or anything on site that isn't formatted like a regular page. They vary and range from regular stories about the lives and people inside the Backrooms to pages that are full of world-building events and vice versa. Some pages fuse tales and regular pages together into one article. Usually these kinds of works are called format screws, due to their fusing of two or more formats together into one page. A lot of tales focus on fleshing out characters, levels, etc. to further add on to the lore of whichever interpretation, storyline, or canon they are a part of. What is a canon? What is a canon? A canon is essentially one of two things. Usually the first being a personal interpretation or an author's storyline. Personal interpretations are one's opinion on how the Backrooms works and connects, with one, like the 4chan post, the main 12, and the main wiki non-author canon lore all being extremely notable examples of a personal interpretation. An author's storyline is essentially a Backrooms timeline. Some have events in them that drastically change their iteration of the Backrooms universe to a level where they cannot be described as being part of normal fandom or Wikidot lore. Here are some examples of author storyline interpretations on both Backrooms Fandom and Backrooms Wikidot that you can find. Fandom Canon subsection. In Eterna, 3 universes exist in a balance. One of familiarity and normality. Another that defies logic and understanding. And finally, one of corruption. But what would happen if this balance was interrupted? In Eterna focuses on a storyline about impermanence, with it being focused on a backrooms being consumed by the void in between it, and humanity struggles in the chaos. Fire in the sky. I love the unexplainable eye candy-like contrast between people and brutalism, especially when decorated by snow or nature. Human-made, yet human hostile, yet human accustomed. This place rids of the first condition and still feels homely. A timeline of stories and events primarily set in level 79, Strums of Suburbia, with it mainly being inside of an area of it known as Andria. It is primarily focused on humanity, politics, and their consequences within Suburbia, with the canon being mostly set in a war between 3 parties, Ariel, the Garden of Nisiferaz, and the Rufus Proletarium, though occasionally the canon focuses on regular world building aside from fictional politics and wars. The flaws of humanity. And so, one by one, the lines around them disappear. The structures around them disappear. The ground disappears. Everything, everyone they know is gone. And at that moment, the whole world went cold. He stared into the abyss, waiting for an answer, and the abyss stared back. A canon themed around the void and the things that reside within its empty black null space, set in a time before the creation of the Backrooms as a dimension, and focuses on the experiences of the protagonists who fell into the void after an earthquake hit. The Wanderer's Toolbox. The concept that you have made zero impact in the realm of humanity. It's easy to feel so hopeless in a universe so void of hope. You find a simple notebook, one that you would take notes in for school. Next, you find a toolbox, the only security you can attach yourself to. At least you have something to hold your notebook, right? The Wanderer's Toolbox is a canon focused on a collection of stories written by wanderers making the most of their lives and experience within the Backrooms by writing down every moment and what they see. Incursion canon. The Backrooms is a messy place where many wanderers are unfortunately no-clipped. For them, dealing with anomalies, entities, and levels is a daily struggle. What if something worse than the usual happened to those who live in the Backrooms? Focusing on the more sci-fi aspects of the Backrooms, Incursion Canon is a storyline taking place in a version of the Backrooms that is the result of a broken dimension, destroyed by extraterrestrial and multi-dimensional conflict, and events that led to the wake being made from the fragments of broken realities, crudely merged together to become its current self, with it constantly being entered into by outsiders from varying worlds like ours. Wikidot Canon subsection. Frontrooms canon. While this new era was uncertain, people prepared themselves for a new age, more uncertain than ever. As the civilizations of the Backrooms saw their world change before their eyes, for better and worse. A world where the Backrooms' entrance and exit to the front rooms were discovered by the science company known as the World Cryptoscience Organization in 2019, and how the events affect both the Backrooms and Earth afterwards. This canon focuses heavily on the world building of Earth and Backrooms relations in various ways, such as with organizations like Brimstone Incorporated exploiting the Backrooms, or others like the Backrooms colonists waging war to protect the environment of the dimension. Industrialization canon. Humanity has settled into the Backrooms, creating societies which echo the ones back home, for better and for worse. The horrors of creeping monsters and liminality crumble away as humanity finds its own horrors to replace them with. Industrialization canon is a canon focusing on human advancement within the Backrooms and stories surrounding Backrooms' native industrialization and the horrors and consequences of it. From resource wars, polluting of levels, and various other things arising from industrialization. Desolation canon. You might be wondering where you are and how to get home. That's good. Hold on to that. Remember where you came from, above all else. The Desolation Canon is a storyline focusing on an alternate backrooms with few levels and entities, and which turns things into parts of itself through a process called desolation. This version of the Backrooms is more focused on the 2020s to 2021 era of writing that was more focused on the mystery and liminal era of the Backrooms, where groups were not as commonly used. Multiverse Canon. Earth and our vast universe are but a single drop. Beyond this observable cosmos, there is a literal ocean of other universes. The Backrooms reality is apparently an important hub for portions of the multiverse. It is believed that some Backrooms entities, such as Sight with Seers, are extra-dimensional in origin. The Multiverse Canon is a Backrooms canon focusing on the Backrooms and its ties to the multiverse. It involves threats like the Fun War, a series of skirmishes between chimeric, undead entities known as the Partygoers and Wanderers in the Backrooms. Other entities like Facelings and Frowning Tusks are also drawn into the fray, as well as the larger Subtle War. Simulation Canon. Simulation Canon is a canon mostly about humans, human-based issues, and human narratives. It is split into 5 separate eras named after the focused on groups in each of the eras in the Sim timeline, with those being the Lost, 1000 BCE to 0 CE, the Leaders, 1970 to 2000 CE, the Meg, 2012 to 2022, the Major Extended Organization Database, or MEOD, 2023 to 2100 CE, and finally, Future Societies, 3000 CE to 5000 CE. The canon is one of the largest on Wikidot, with it containing 44 different pages as of this video. Backrooms groups on the wiki sites. Now that we are onto the groups section of this video, I do want to first show examples of groups that are adapted and exist simultaneously on the wikis. The first example of one of these I will be showing here is Meg, otherwise known as the Major Explorer Group, as they are the most famous and notable example of these, with iterations of them existing in most wikis in one way or another. The Major Explorer Group. The Major Explorer Group on the Backrooms Fandom Wiki is a hybrid exploratory and governmental group that is primarily dedicated to the exploration of the Backrooms. They operate in self-governing teams, departments, and outposts managed by the impresarios in the first, with their influence spanning the entire Backroom sphere. They also possess a savior complex which has annoyed and even made some other factions across the Backrooms dimension despise them. The Major Explorer Group in the Backrooms Wikidot is the main faction in power in the Backrooms due to the fact they are the most widespread group in it, with them holding similar goals as their fandom iteration, that being to explore the Backrooms in search of an exit back to our reality. However, unlike their fandom counterparts, they aren't super powerful in military capability and are more like scouts and hunters in the wilderness of the Backrooms, if anything, despite their great numbers. The Unbound Explorers Coalition. The Unbound Explorers Coalition is another example of a group that has been adapted across Backrooms iterations. They were originally created on Wikidot, however they got adaptations on the Fandom Wiki and various other wikis as well. On the Backrooms fandom, they are briefly used and mentioned, but are described as being a failed Meg splinter that became one of the most historically infamous groups due to their extreme fascism, hypernationalism, and atrocities they committed against all other groups of their time. On the Backrooms Wikidot, they are similar to their fandom counterparts, although significantly less extreme, and they are still active. They are basically an extremely corrupt Meg, with actively questionable morals and are infamous for their atrocities, with even the founder of their group leaving them. Even then, they still try to do the right thing despite their abundance of problems, with them being a morally gray zone in a lot of cases rather than a purely evil force. The Backrooms Colonists. The Backrooms Colonists are perhaps the most obscure of the adapted groups, as they are not common in iterations, with most of their content being written purely on the Backrooms fandom, up until the creation of Frontrooms canon on Wikidot, where they served a purpose as being the new Backrooms superpower after the Meg had disbanded. The Backrooms Colonists on fandom, however, are much more used and established despite not being used so much in more modern fandom articles. In Fandom's canon, they are essentially the second largest faction in the Backrooms, with them being made up entirely of smaller factions and outposts which united together to become the colonists. The Backrooms colonists were once more formidable. However, conflicts and reforms led to the weakening and decline of the colony. Fandom groups. With the multi-wiki groups out of the way now, we can get to talking about examples of groups specific to certain wikis. I will be going by Fandom first, and then Wikidot, showing 5 examples from the former's iteration and then the latter. Majority of these can be found on their wiki's version of the groups list, but for some cases there'll be ones that, despite their usage, may not have a page yet as of making this video. The Anti-Entity Group. The Anti-Entity Group is perhaps one of the oldest and most used examples of a group on the Backrooms Fandom Wiki, despite their absence of a main page. They are an independent Backrooms militia based in the main 9 and its sublevels, though they are active all across the wider wake. The Anti-Entity Exterminators are dedicated, as shown by their name, completely to the eradication of entities, with disputed exceptions usually being sapient entities or animals that are actually helping humanity. The faction is highly controversial due to their part in numerous genocides enacted against entity species and factions supporting sapient entities, with the most infamous examples of these genocides being the Day of Dying Flames and the Cascadian Conflict. The Party Crashers. The Backrooms is a treacherous place, with omnipotent threats lurking around every facet of this living nightmare. It has become our incentive to destroy it, no matter the repercussions, because we persist, we adapt, and we defend. We are the Party Crashers. The Party Crashers are a famous group in the Backrooms Fandom iteration, with them arguably being the most recognizable faction aside from the major Explorer group. They are a Backrooms militia made by World War I veterans for the sake of completely eradicating and protecting civilization from the partygoers in Sanjuin Festivus. They typically look like wanderers carrying rifles and melee weaponry, wearing hoodies and frowning blue masks of varying appearance. They are famous for their efforts to destroy the Sanjuin Festivus virus and their part in the conflict known as the Euphoric Wars. The Republic of Ariel. Despite the Republic's aggressive political stance, it remains amongst the most culturally diverse groups within the Backrooms, valuing unity, patriotism, competitiveness, and militarism. The Republic of Ariel is a nation made up of states found in a variety of levels within the Backrooms, with a population in the 72,000 to 76 and 934,000 range. They were formed because of the Ares-Vistican Wars, a great war between dozens of states and territories that resulted in the formation of Ariel. They are a developed country with an advanced economy, and they are also noted as having the highest defense budget spending of any Backrooms group. Generally, Ariel is one of the most influential and powerful groups in the Backrooms Fandom Wiki universe, with them playing a part in a large majority of Backrooms conflicts and wars. Groups enveloped by the Ariel territory are referred to as stand-tops, self-governing, independent territories and states, heavily influenced by the nation. The Duchy of Cascada. Cascada's history has long been bathed in blood, from the conquests of the Zhou dynasty to the modern wars in suburbia. It stands among the few remaining cradles of civilization within the Backrooms. The Duchy of Cascada is a nation spanning across level 107, its sublevels, and various other colder levels in Fandom's iteration. It is both the most famous entity civilization and the most populated general society within the Backrooms. They are also one of the oldest, with their earliest precursors dating back to the 2nd millennium BCE. Cascada, in universe, is considered to be a regional power in international politics. However, in colder levels, specifically level 330.1, level 797, and others, they have much more influence and are thought of as a great power. The Garden of Nicephorez, the people that never die. The Garden of Nicephorez, or simply Nicephorez, is a unique group in the Backrooms Fandom Wiki universe that, despite not having its own page yet, is still well used in the fandom lore. Nicephorez originates from the 13th century, being not only the oldest still running civilization from that period, but also the longest still active one in the Backrooms in general. It has survived through being built on its own ideologies and culture of mental health, consensus, cannibalism, and interdependence. It obsessively protects and values it, with the influences originating from it stretching further than a simple principle or foundation. Its cultural ideology of consensus and protectionism is both its greatest flaw and best superpower. Backrooms Wikidot groups. With Fandom's 5 group examples out of the way, we now get onto factions present and specific to the Backrooms Wikidot that come in various different forms, from nations, organizations, and even cultures. The Backrooms Non-Aligned Trading Group. Peace through Prosperity. The Backrooms Non-Aligned Trade Group, or BNTG, is an organization of various economic institutions, bases, and regulatory agencies brought together through a shared ideology of peace through prosperity. It focuses on establishing a centralized trade network through their gathered massive wealth of contacts and supplies. They use their resources to increase the living conditions of their affiliates and secure peace through strictly remaining neutral to most groups in the Backrooms. The BNTG has also effectively created a pseudo-economy used by most wanderers across the Backrooms through their reach, using their methods to establish a once unobtainable level of normalcy for its members while solidifying itself as the dominant trade power. The Backrooms Robotics. Once more, we sincerely apologize for the casualties and harm that this product has caused. The Backrooms Robotics is a mass-producing tech company with a history of developing various extremely helpful items across the Backrooms, from ordinary things like lamps to machines. Their intentions are unknown, though goals are implied throughout each individual creation and shady actions done by the group to maintain its chokehold on the Backrooms tech industries. The Republic of Boveta. The Republic of Boveta, referred to as Boveta in short, is a nation present across the Backrooms. They are located on level 650 primarily, but have expanded to other levels. The Republic of Boveta is a technocratic faction with a mixed economy following the Pottingerism political ideology. Boveta originally was a mythological and non-existent place until the level it supposedly was on was discovered by Wilson Pottinger and his team, who realized the myths to be false. In their realization, they founded the real Boveta, which grew into the nation's faction it is today. It is Boveta's goal to become the sole governmental institution of all humanity, to achieve the unity of humanity by diplomacy, collaboration, or force when absolutely necessary. The Eyes of Argos. Every place needs a law to follow, something to hold on to, a guide to distinguish right from wrong. We take it upon ourselves to promulgate that guidance, to keep the inhabitants of this labyrinth in their right mind, and to punish those who do not. The Eyes of Argos are a group/order in the Backrooms universe made up of vigilantes commanded by their deity Argos, who is the self-proclaimed physical manifestation of justice. The Eyes have existed for centuries upon centuries in the universe, and ever since their beginning, they've had one goal in common, with that being to destroy criminals and quote-unquote sinners across the Backrooms. They are divided into 5 patrols, with each of them having different tactics of enforcing justice or carrying out assassinations on criminals, entities, and other parties. These 5 patrols are the Inquisitors of Truth, the Justice Seekers, the Law Keepers, the Sons of Guilt, the Sin Hunters, and finally the Sentinels of the Watch. There used to be a 6th patrol in the Eyes of Argos named Knights of Argos, but they became disgraced after they betrayed Argos under the leadership of Alasdair Morgan. Because of their behavior against other factions, they've gained many, many enemies despite their centuries of good. The Leaders, sticking with the people through trying times. The Leaders were essentially the forerunners of parties like the Major Explorer Group, with them virtually being the dominant superpower of the Backrooms prior to the era of the 2000s, where a lot of today's groups got their foothold. The Leaders provided safety when others couldn't, and with not much competition, their numbers grew rapidly. They developed life, and cities even at the end, but their war with the nation of Emstable led to their demise, destroying them along with many traces of their existence. Those lucky few who picked up their scraps like the BNTG, the UEC, and of course, the MEG, became the dominant parties of today, with them imitating the greatness that the leaders once had, all the way down to the rapid employment they had in their beginnings. Let's hope it doesn't end the same as it did last time, now, shall we? Page recommendations. Oftentimes, when newer fans or outsiders to the Backrooms wikis begin trying to read the lore or get inspiration, they find themselves stuck in having trouble finding good articles to read on the site because of the sheer number of them that exist on both Fandom and Wikidot. The most upvoted pages on Wikidot being mostly 2021 to 2022 low-quality content, as well as the fact that Fandom has no upvoting system of their own, makes this problem significantly worse. In order to solve this issue, I have created this section of the video in order to give good examples of pages for newcomers to read on their visits to the site. I will be starting with Fandom's pages due to their pages being significantly more difficult to discover on their own due to the confusing way tags on their site both work and are used. Now, we get onto the actual articles on Fandom and Wikidot, respectively, beginning with the ones on Fandom. Backrooms Fandom page examples. Entity 333, The Serpent. The devil is what happens when light is out of reach. When walls of reason we build to protect ourselves break down in the dark. The devil is what we see when our eyes fail us. The origins of Smilers, Anathekas, and dozens of other evil entities in the Backrooms is the Serpent. The Serpent, alternatively known as the Parasite, is a sentient theological construct, or, in more understandable words for newcomers, it is essentially a being made from the summed fear thought processes that all beings have of a devil. Not a literal biblical devil, but rather the concept of a physical being, made from the collective fears of one in general, made manifest in reality. How do we kill a serpent? How do we stop this immense beast of unimaginable evil from harming us? It is simple, really. You just kill what it stands for. This entity, due to its ties to the classic Smiler entity, along with its easy readability, makes it an excellent choice for early fans to read. Level Redacted. The Bible states that the most damning aspect of eternal damnation isn't the gnashing of teeth, nor the lake of fire, but the eternal separation from God himself. The murals and words alone are damning. Words cannot describe the mockery that this place brings for the unrepentant. Level Redacted is perhaps one of the most famous Fandom-originated levels from back in the 2021 to 2022 era of the Backrooms. The level is essentially a massive network of sublevels blending continuously into the next. Despite all of them looking different, they all follow the same pattern of endless paths and no viable exits. Level Redacted is hellish for the human mind because there is no one else except for you, despite how much it feels as if something is always watching somewhere. Amongst the Fandom pages, Level Redacted is also quite a long read in its current state, which makes it even more notable amongst the Fandom classics. I recommend giving it a read. Level 79, Strums of Suburbia. Tantalizing cold. It's familiar, never too dissimilar to what I remember. A disconnected mimicry of my memories. A breeze swept by me. The breeze constantly relieved me, reminded me that I'm safer, and at some sort of home, yet the smallest inconsistencies always bugged me. Windows misaligned, walls with no purpose, doors where a porch should be. It's like chewing into a soft food and hearing something crunch, yet the crunch feels oddly human, no? Level 79, also known simply as Suburbia, is a massive level with a large history to it, along with being one of the most inhabited places amongst the wider Backrooms. It is also one of the lore-rich levels, with it even having its own canon to go along with it. Level 79 is one of the more popular levels on the Fandom Wiki due to its world building, conflicts, and stories told within the space as opposed to multiple levels. In terms of levels with lore beyond monsters, this level, as well as its affiliated articles, is a must-read for outsiders despite its length as an article. The Call of the Deep. For most, it doesn't stop with caring for that first dip. Soon they'll become swimmers, then divers, and then do it full-time professionally for a living. A terminal in the Fandom Wiki universe that is told in the format of a story as opposed to a usual article format. A story telling the tales of many who are influenced by a call, that which makes people obsessed with diving, going further and further down and down into the great blue sea. Their obsessions are tied to a void that, if drawn near, can lead to a pocket dimension of Halo waters. This terminal is an excellent choice for an introduction to terminals, not just because of its format screw aspect, but also because of the mystery and ominous atmosphere in it. The effigy. Nonetheless, wanderers experiencing the cognitive anomaly are compelled to approach the structure. The closer they get, the more the phenomenon takes effect, causing an overall disregard for other external factors and an apparently religious reverence for the effigy. The effigy, also known by other names like the totem or simply idol, is a cognitohazardous construct located somewhere in level 10, the bumper crop, though where exactly in the fields is unknown. It towers over the bumper crop, with it vaguely resembling a scarecrow made from wooden beams and crude clothes. Should one come near the effigy, they will begin to feel a sense of significance regarding it, feelings of being watched, and an increasing desire to approach it further. The ominous of this article, combined with its short length, makes it a good beginner page to start out on when reading Backrooms fandom articles. Phenomenon 9. Onerophobia/tulpeification. In Tibetan Buddhism and later traditions of mysticism and the paranormal, a tulpa, plural, tulpe, is a materialized being or thought form created through spiritual practice and intense concentration. In the Backrooms iterations, there are lots of articles that take real-life myths and supernatural ideas from our world and make articles based on them. And Phenomenon 9, Tulpeification, is perhaps the most influential of these kinds of articles in fandom's case. Phenomenon 9 is the anomalous occurrence in the Backrooms dimension, specifically where the collective thoughts or beliefs of sapient beings will result in either the creation or modification of various constructs in the dimension. As stated in the terminology section of this video, these occurrences can vary, with them being singular entities, objects, and even entire levels. The phenomenon cannot be properly controlled due to how it works, though that has not stopped factions from attempting to use it for their own benefit. Due to how much this phenomenon is used in the modern fandom Backrooms lore, I personally would recommend this being one of your first phenomena when getting used to reading the phenomenon category. Backrooms Wikidot page examples. Now we get to the 6 selected articles I've chosen from Wikidot. Level 371. Despondency. From the words of every wanderer that has ever stepped foot within level 371, these gaping openings into the familiar abyss below are incredibly unsettling, inflicting an odd sense of fear upon those who gaze down. Most travelers who come to this level steer clear of the openings regardless of the size, as the darting fear of tumbling head over heels into infinity is too great a risk to even try to peek over and look into. Should one fall into one of these holes, whether accidentally or on purpose, then the individual will swiftly be met with the underside of the rooms as well as the sky blue air and cool gray clouds. Level 371, Despondency, also known as the Balcony Rooms, is a level in the Backrooms Wikidot universe consisting of an assortment of empty offices with floors that have large gaping holes leading to a blue cloudy sky-like void. Falling in these holes will have the wanderer falling for a small period of time that varies, but always ends with the one who fell in being spit back out safely where they cannot fall. People in the level fear the holes despite them not being harmful even if you fall in. Level 371 is one of my favorites in the otherworldly liminal category of Backrooms levels, which is why I've selected it as my pick in my recommendation for a first reader's level. Phenomenon 7, Liminal Echo. Why are so many levels and entities harmful to people? Are these being manufactured for this purpose? Phenomenon 7, known more commonly as liminal echo, is a theoretical substance, or poison as the article refers to it as, that is absorbed by the mind and soul. It's believed to be the reason as to why the Backrooms in its entirety is so focused on the dreamlike imitations of human ideas and architecture. Levels, entities, and the like pop into existence almost as if they were created. Due to how used liminal echo is and its importance to the Wikidot lore, this is the phenomenon I've selected as my recommendation for a new reader. Johnny Mason. Johnny, rousing of your bow and play your fiddle hard, 'cause hell's broke loose in Georgia, and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold. But if you lose, the devil gets your soul. Johnny Mason, also known as the Crossroads Wanderer, is a person of interest in the Backrooms Wikidot universe, carrying an anomalous golden fiddle with mesmerizing capabilities. Johnny is a performer and musician based in Level 11. His skill in playing certain instruments is considered unrivaled. However, he is apparently incapable of playing guitar. He claims to have not only met the devil twice before entering the Backrooms dimension, but also fought him as well, once when he was younger, and once when he was at a crossroads. This person of interest I've chosen to mention, both because of its shortness as an article, whilst being a fun read, and because of the interesting lore it has, despite being unused in the current Backrooms Wikidot lore. I recommend giving this one a read if you're interested in POIs, or persons of interest. Entity 134. Phobic Centipedes. My rescuer started dying. While the centipede was distracted, I snatched up the armed incendiary device and torched the... I earned a few burns myself, but I didn't care. It felt wonderful. An apex predator of the Backrooms Wikidot universe. The phobic centipedes are mostly a non-reflective sapient black color that absorbs light, similar to mosaic black, allowing for camouflage in the dark and shadowy areas. Centipedes lure people into going near them through using a morphing, smiling face of a smiling woman as bait, along with using sapient conversation to trap humans into going near. The danger of phobic centipedes is made worse by their ability to inflict a twilight state on nearby organisms, which makes people unable to think or take defensive action. They exclusively hunt human beings, though there is no evidence of them actually eating humans. They are also the direct origin of Wikidot's interpretation of the partygoers, as the first instance of them was created through a janitor no-clipping into the backrooms and merging with a phobic centipede and multiple other entities along the way, as opposed to regular no-clipping to levels. These entities, due to their interesting traits and their connection to the partygoer lore as well, have all made them a good example of an entity for a first reader to look at when going on the Backrooms Wikidot. Object 74. Warp Berries. The BNTG guarantees the safety of every product we sell, and we can guarantee every customer complete satisfaction. Object 74, Warp Berries, is a form of fruit that can be found in various levels, and possesses a similar appearance to that of strawberries from Earth, or the front rooms. They do not go rotten and always taste as if they were freshly grown. The Backrooms non-aligned trading group originally had sold the warp berries on their markets due to their useful ability to teleport those who ate them to level 10's warp berry farms set up by the BNTG. Despite how useful the properties were and how well things were going, eventually something just had to go wrong. This object not only has a unique story, but also has lore related to one of the big three groups to go along with it, and I recommend reading this object if you're interested in the objects category. Infinity. What does it mean to be infinite? Humanity knows it as a state of being, a thing inherently unreachable yet guaranteed to exist, but we never have truly grasped the concept it represents. No bound, no end, no limit. Infinity means that every possibility the human consciousness can conceptualize is inherently true. Anything and everything one can imagine exists somewhere out in the expanse we call the multiverse. But the human consciousness can only stretch so far. Infinity is an anthology of tales packed into one article as part of DualCon 2025. Each tale is themed around hope and infinity, with it being split into 5 different sections, each telling their own story that goes as such. The introduction, famine, death, war, conquest, and the end. The many stories each focus on various different things in the Backrooms Wikidot lore, with each tale set in different places, time periods, etc. For instance, the war section of Infinity takes place in a time period from the 1930s to 1991, detailing the ever-growing automobile/Emstable and the growing conflict it has gained with the leader's faction. Because of how long this tale is, with its connections to pieces of lore in the Backrooms Wikidot, I strongly recommend this one. Site meta. Now we get to an area of the video that, similarly to the Backrooms terminology, is a section where I explain terms and the like. However, much unlike the Backrooms terminology, I'll be explaining stuff that refers to concepts and words used to refer to how the sites, their users, and their articles operate. Quality standards. When writing and making articles on Fandom or Wikidot respectively, there are a series of rules and standards that must be met in order for them to make it on site. Articles on Wikidot must undergo greenlighting and critique before they make it on site. For the case of Fandom, you are free to post without these, but you still have to follow their craft standards in order for your page to remain on site. Crafts refers to the clarity, relevance, authority, format, thoroughness, and specialness of a page. Author critique and greenlighting system. The author critique and greenlighting system is a process that is present on both wikis. However, the main difference between how it works on Wikidot and Fandom is that on one, it is an absolute necessity for your article to be on site, for Wikidot's case, and on the other, it is only an option that further guarantees your article being able to stay on site. There's also page clears, which is when a sandbox is given sandbox-focused critique from 3 different greenlighters, with each being at least 5,001 characters. You may contact a greenlighter, green flame trialee, or a staff member to request clearance to post your work. When asking, show them the relevant critique, and you will be given the posting password. The voting system. On the Backrooms Wikidot, there is a system that allows authors and users to vote on whether they enjoyed an article or not, known as the voting system. How it works is when on an article, there will be a button up in the top right corner that says rating with a number, a plus symbol, and a minus symbol next to it. Clicking the plus symbol after reading an article upvotes the article and shows that you enjoyed the article. If you click the minus symbol, however, it downvotes the story you're reading and shows you didn't enjoy the article. Tags and categories. Tags are a way of categorizing articles on Wikidot by their genre, the characters they use, and where they take place. There are many different examples of tags, and you can find the tag guide to learn more about them. Tags can be used to find specific kinds of pages on site better. If you are using Fandom instead of tags, the thing in their place will be categories instead, which effectively serves the same purpose as tags but is a little bit more difficult to use due to them including sandboxes in them. If you want to use categories to find pages of a specific kind, then it is recommended to click the letter they start with by pressing on their letter in the orange ABCs underneath all items. Doing this will allow you to find the page you are looking for better without sandboxes getting in the way of the actual articles. Contests. On both Backrooms wikis, there are a variety of different events that occur every so often referred to as contests. Contests are, as their name suggests, an event to promote writing on the wikis by making their authors partake in writing around a specific theme. Sandboxes. A page where authors write their drafts or articles before having it greenlighted or published. There are also sites that writers can create that are designed for posting their sandboxes to better organize them. If you are interested in figuring out how to make your own sandbox site, I would recommend reading the Sandbox Site Guide on Wikidot. Wikidot Art Gallery. The Backrooms Wikidot may be mostly focused on writing, but it also has art pages, which are a way for artists to post their fan art on the site for people to see. The art gallery is basically where all the art pages can be found by viewers who want to see all the drawings made by fan artists of the content on the wiki. Fandom discussions. On the Fandom Wiki, there exists an almost social media-like community aside from the articles on the site. The Fandom Discussions is a place where Backrooms fans or authors can share their articles or fan art or talk about other things relating to the site. It can also serve as a place to ask for help regarding article creation, CSS theme designing, and the like. Wikidot forums. Similarly to Fandom Discussions, Wikidot has a forum where people can go and introduce themselves, ask for help on their articles, or just have general discussions about the site. Announcements from the site admins can also be found in the Wikidot forums. Some frequently asked questions. Where are negative levels on the wikis? Negative levels, a variant of level that old fans most likely recognize, has since been removed on both Wikidot and Fandom due to both wikis determining that there was no way to logically implement them in their Backrooms expanded universes. Although the term is removed, the levels that were originally negative have since been moved to positive levels. Where are enigmatic levels? Another old variant that 2021 to 2022 fans would most likely recognize. The enigmatics were similarly altered and changed to the fate of negative levels, though unlike the negatives who were removed conceptually from the site and had their levels moved as positives, the enigmatics simply underwent a rebrand with them instead being called unnumbered levels. Where is insert from Kane Pixel's lore? Kane Pixels is an entirely separate thing from the expanded lore of all Backrooms wikis, and due to his wishes to keep his stuff out of the wikis, it will forever remain so. Things like the life form / bacteria, async, and others do not exist in either Fandom or Wikidot, apart from minor references and vice versa. What is the Backrooms Freewriting Wiki? The Backrooms Freewriting Wiki is a site created by the Backrooms Fandom Wiki staff and members, serving as a massive sandbox hub of sorts for authors to practice their writing without worrying about restrictions that the regular wiki would have. It is not canon to any iteration and should not be treated as part of any Backrooms expanded lore. What is cold posting on Wikidot? Cold posting is a term used by authors and staff on the Backrooms Wikidot to refer to the act of posting on the site without going through the green lighting and critiquing system on the forums or the Discord server. Cold posting is against the rules of the site and can get you banned if you do it enough times. What are these templates I see on the Backrooms Fandom Wiki? Due to how the Backrooms Fandom Wiki is structured, instead of having cold posting, they have various templates made to mark a page for deletion, rewrite, etc. They are designed to keep quality controls on the wikis while being able to give advice to authors or to give them a good reason as to why their page is being removed. Removing templates from your page without permission from staff is not allowed unless the staff agree that the template doesn't have a good enough reason to be on your page. And that concludes this introduction. I hope you have enjoyed the video and are interested in reading or interacting with the Backrooms wikis and the communities that have formed around them. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like or maybe subscribe to either my channel or the Backrooms Fandom Wiki's official channel. This video script was written by me with helpers or other contributors who are as follows: PortulTrademark, Bishopinthebluedimension, Liminalityyy, Halo3 Rodent, Andromeda Observer, Solomon Sams, and Foxfires29 for help with the script through criticism. PixelPurple for creating the Fandom Wikidot merged logo used in this video's thumbnail and in its sections.